Hi everyone, it's Jan with What You Make It, and you can see that I have a canvas, a mixed media canvas that is in process. I'm using this canvas to kind of focus on my word, one little word for this year, 2013, and it's going to be the word joy. And I thought that I would share with you some of the techniques that I'm using as I'm creating it. And the one that I want to share with you today is what I call this vintage or distressed porcelain technique. Very, very, very fun. Can use it for a lot of things. So to begin with, I'm using 3 letters, J-O-Y, made out of grunge board, and I'm going to put a layer of paint down. I'm going to be using distress paint over this, but I want there to be particular colors showing through the crackle. I want some of this kind of pool color of acrylic paint, and so I'm using, that's an Adirondack paint dabber in pool, and then I believe the green is going to be New Leaf. But I love using dabbers to cover things like these letters because you can get good coverage really pretty quickly. If you don't want the paints to mix, you want them to stay really true to their color, go ahead and use your heat tool to just kind of zap them a little bit, and then go in with the other color. And I don't want any solid coverage, and really very little of this is going to show through, but anytime I'm using Distress ink, I want to think through what is the color that is going to be visible through the cracks. So I'm wanting to add some blues and some greens in here. And, you just kind of go back and forth. If you feel like you got too much, then go back with the other. Now, I'm going to mix 2 colors of Distress Crackle Paint. And you see, I'm just putting it out there on my craft mat, and that's Shabby Shutters, and then I'm going to put some Picket Fence over here. That's one way you can really extend the number of colors that you have. You can mix them, and Picket Fence will make a more pastel color out of anything you mix it with. Now, I really wanted a good coat of the Picket Fence, so I put that down first. If you'll work quickly, though, you can mix the two, and then I'm just using a palette knife to kind of lay that over. I want a very thin layer over all of these letters, because with Distress Crackle paint, the thinner the layer, the smaller the cracks. And I'm really going for this very old vintage porcelain, cracked porcelain. And if you've been to a flea market or looked at your grandmother's china, you realize that it has very fine little cracks, but it still has that outer glaze on it. So that's that's the effect we're going for. And I'm just kind of putting the green, the new mixture of green over the top, and I'm going to zoom in here and let you see. See, you can barely see that blue, but it's in the long run, I love paying attention to the details. Now I'm going to do some stamping like you would see on vintage porcelain, you would see painting. Because we're going to do some embossing over this, I want to use archival ink. You can use StazOn or Ranger Archival. I'm using Ranger to do that, the archival ink, and I'm just using kind of a swirly leaf pattern. I'm going to bring in some of the other colors that are going to be in my canvas by using this. I just have a little 3-dot stamp that I'm putting some blue in, and I tried a couple of other colors as well, and I didn't like how they turned out, so I actually just went and got my kind of a hot pink Sharpie, and because it's permanent, it will work as well. And so I made some big dots and some little dots, and I'm just going over the areas that I had formerly stamped. Now I'm using a silver leafing pen to just put a little bit of an edge on there, and really until you get to the very end you really can't see this step. But again, it's one of those details, and because I am going to put it up on these letters are going to be on a canvas that's going to be in my studio this entire year. I want to pay attention to the details. So to get that glazed look, we're going to use UT, Ultra Thick Embossing Enamel, and I used a Versamark ink pad. Now I will suggest that you use an old Versamark ink pad, because even though we're using archival permanent kind of ink, there will be some reaction with it, and you're going to get your ink pad dirty. So I have a dirty one and a clean one that I keep, and I use the dirty one for these kinds of techniques. Now you can see that with just one coat, it's very bumpy, and it doesn't give you that glazed porcelain. So we're going to do this 2 more times. And if you're really fast, you could just, while it was hot, you could drop it back down into your powder. But I don't want to work that fast, and I don't want to take the chance of burning my fingers or whatever. So I tend to just kind of take my time, make sure I get a good second coat of Versamark on it, and then make sure that it has a good coating of the embossing enamel all the way. Now you can see it's getting a lot smoother with this one, but you can kind of see up there at the top of the J that it's a little bumpy still. I want all of that to be smoothed out, so I'm going to go back a 3rd time and do the same technique, just pressing it into the ultra thick embossing enamel. And this time you'll see that I get a really nice thick glaze over the entire surface. Kind of cool, huh? So I went ahead and did the same thing to all 3 of my letters, and I like how they turned out. Great technique to use for embellishments for cards or on a scrapbooking page, or in an art journal, or on some kind of mixed media project. I hope you'll try this technique for yourself. It's really fun, and I have a whole lot of fun things planned for us. If you'd like to learn more about One Little Word, please visit my blog. Y'all have a great and happy New Year.